Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Podcast. This is the back of the bus session.
Hello, and this is the Old Farm Bus, back at the Bus Sessions podcast. Today, I'm absolutely buzzing. I've got a new mate with me. You really are my mate. So I'm going to introduce you with Dominique Parlatt from Warriors.
Yay! Good morning.
How you doing, lovely?
Yeah, really good. I'm so excited to be here. This place is amazing.
It's been awesome, hasn't it? We've had a pretty long chat together, me, you and your partner.
Yeah.
I feel like we've connected.
Totally. I feel like we connected before I even got here, but like even more now.
I really enjoy you saying that. And Dominique, you've been following the bus thing,
Yeah.
what we're up to. We've been following the Warriors. At the start of doing these podcasts, I tried to talk about everyone's accolades. Do you know when they do that big build-up in the intro?
Yeah.
They've done this and they've done that. And I think I didn't do it justice. I wasn't very good at it. I'd slip over and then I'd just keep on going, and I think it wasn't right. So I try and let the guest talk about what they do, and then we'll build from there and get into the meat of it all.
Yeah, that sounds
So
cool.
what is it that you do?
So basically, Warriors is predominantly a community project. So it started really locally here in Derbyshire, but now these projects are running all over the UK. We've been to Europe. I've even been to Hollywood, which was nice.
No way.
Yeah,
You were there?
Yeah, like in Los Angeles.
With
flew out.
Warriors?
Yeah, well, I went out to film like the first.
That's my first
Kind of
goosebump
like-
moment.
So like when I first started, there wasn't many plus size fitness instructors around. Like it just wasn't a thing. It was still kind of like one particular body shape. Both women and men were under that incredible pressure to look a certain way in the fitness industry. And I came, and when I first started, I was a big girl and very proud of myself. I'd never even looked at myself before in that way. I was just so oblivious to everything. I was just like, yeah, this is amazing. And went out, started teaching little, fitness classes with 9 people in. And it wasn't long before all that trolling started on social media. People were like taking pictures of me saying like who would go to her class, but this is how it was. This was how the industry was.
Where were we in
So
years?
this is like 2015. So
Right,
it's not
okay.
even that
Yeah.
long away, really. But I suppose it is now, isn't it? I forget how old I'm getting.
I'm joining you. We're going together.
But yeah, so that happened. And, I was a bit like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting this, but it was the best thing that ever happened, because I went back onto that post. It was on a spotted Facebook. So many people, there was so many mixed kind of feelings, but the main thing there was that feelings were happening. And I was like, hold on, something big's happening here. So I waited for it to all just go, and I just put underneath, that's me, and if I can do it, anyone can. So come and join me. And we turned up on the Thursday, and usually 9 people, and there was like 45 people queuing to get in.
Wow.
Just went overnight, and that was the big start of it. So whoever posted that, I wish I could meet them and buy them a pint.
Mate. So you turned your pain into something else.
Totally, it
Or
helped all
was
the
it pain
people.
even, or do you
It
quite callous
was.
to stuff like that?
I think, to be honest, at first I was a bit like, ouch, because I'd never really been spoken about on the internet in that way.
Yeah.
It never happened to me. So at first I was like, but then I thought, hang on a minute. There's loads of other women, because I just had a baby. Loads of women have just had babies. Loads of women are feeling like this at leisure centres with spotlights and mirrors and, all of this. And I thought, no, I'm going to turn the lights off, and I'm going to put some disco lights in and get rid of the mirrors, and we're just going to all jump around and make this happen.
Wow.
And that was the birth of Warriors. That's how it started.
This is incredible. I'm excited about this already.
Thank you.
So what was that first big class like?
It was amazing. I can still remember the first time that Warriors came out of my mouth, because it was just called Thermo Vibe Fitness. It was just...
Thermo Vibe?
Yeah,
What was
Thermo
that?
Vibe. So it was all to do with I just thought, the word thermo, heat, it's a bit of a vibe. And, I just don't really think about things too much. I just go with it. And
What I like about your character.
yeah.
And what I'm growing to know.
So excited all the
Just
time.
go.
But we got... The studio that I was in at the time still had the mirrors, and I was looking into the mirror, just looking at everyone, and I could see the emotion coming out, because I was getting them to go, ah, and all this roaring was just coming from nowhere. And I was watching these women just doing, it was a lot more than a fitness class, and I was like, yeah, there's something big happening here.
Wow.
And then I started to think while I was teaching, like, how did they get here? What are they fighting? What's going through their minds? And I just shouted, warriors. And I was like,
mate.
wow, that was awesome. That felt so good. And that was the same day. That was like,
That's like
okay.
Sparta, isn't
yeah,
it?
it was.
It's Sparta.
And
mate.
but they reacted in the same way. And then I found myself saying it more through that hour. I remember driving home. I'd got like my little baby in a little chair, the thing that goes in the car. And yeah, I was just like, I'm going to call this warriors because I feel like everybody's fighting something in that room. And then that's kind of like when the whole thing just changed.
On a different trajectory. It was just
Totally.
moving there.
Totally.
Wow.
And that's when I realised that actually when people go to the fitness industry, if we think about that first point, like they're trying to change themselves. But actually, no one really needs to change themselves. We need to celebrate ourselves. So I thought this is the perfect place to find the lost people who actually need to love themselves as they are.
Don't do this to me. Wow. Why do you think people are in that place? Because it is a common theme and a commonality between people. Why don't we feel like we're enough?
I think that, like I say, social media's got a lot to do with this because I always think, if social media wasn't there, I mean, we can barely remember life without social media. But if you think about your house to begin with, so when you decorate your house, years gone by, you decorated your house for yourself and for your family. Well, the first thing you do when you decorate your room now is you take a photo and put it on social media. So it starts with your house, your fashion, your finances, and all of these pressures that were already there have now been amplified to the fact that we're almost public catalogue, like we're all living this Vogue magazine lifestyle. So when you then go a little bit further into people, that's the exterior, but their feelings, we've always got to be positive. And what I think is that, something, it's not possible to constantly be positive, even though I'm the most exciting person, like I'm excited all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like a roller coaster and roller coasters go down too. So I think that the reason that people are under this pressure is because we're trying to achieve unrealistic goals in every aspect.
I learned it on a similar measure. Do you know that roller coaster idea? My friend said it in the term of being on a wave, but usually I'm going up and then I'm just crashing and going far below. But the art is to just wave it down and ride it and go with it. And then you're coming back up and it's sort of trying to be consistent and content, but then enjoy the highs when they're there. But your lows just don't have to be so low anymore.
Exactly. And I think it's important to know that the low's going to come.
Yeah.
And I know we were talking about banter and joking and things like that before. And my team, that's kind of like our energy. My team know me better than I do. Yeah. So we know when there's like a really big, overproductive, really exciting time of life, what's coming.
Me and you are going to get on, dude. We're going to be mates.
Yeah.
Such the same person.
Yeah.
And I must admit, I still do have them days where I let myself crash it by accident or whatever, but it is human, isn't it?
And it comes with being creative,
Yes.
and I think sometimes the best projects and the best work comes from that downtime. So, if we can view it as, okay, this is just part of who I am, what can come from this too?
And maybe unhealed trauma in there somewhere or another.
Exactly.
Working on your shit.
Yeah, 100%.
When I meet people like you, there hasn't been that often, to be honest, not enough, there usually is like a humongous story over here, because for that person that, was trolled, a lot of people just then turn away from it, think, it's not my thing, I'll just go on living.
Yeah.
And they go in that uncomfort, but they can live with it.
Yes.
You faced it, and then you really want to help people with it and serve and do your best for helping.
Exactly.
So is there a big story back here that we could just get into a little bit? Because I do think people doing phenomenal things, there's something attached to it.
I totally agree with you, and I think you're right. Like, when you meet people who are living extraordinary lives, it's because they've been through extraordinary things.
Yeah.
For me, like, I still remember the day that my life changed. I was living, well, hang on a minute, was I living a normal life? I don't know, because my mum was a musician, my dad was a travel agent. There was a massive age difference with them, but everything was fine. We were breathing.
Fairly archetypal, like what you'd think of a family household to be like.
I think
holidays
so.
And
well, we never went on holidays, so I've never, as a child, never went on holiday, apart from one little mini trip to Wales to meet my granddad, which that's just one of the best memories of my life.
Wow.
But yeah, we never really did things like that. So we had loads of parrots randomly. So we just had like 30 parrots, and I learned how to like hand rear them and stuff. So that was exciting. But the day my life changed, I remember it really well. And we'd been to Morrison's, and my dad had a Cornish pasty. So for years after this, I thought Cornish pasties were like really dangerous things.
Well, yeah.
And he took ill that day, ended up in hospital with septicemia, and this is sort of when it all started to to change, and those massive health issues came in. And my mum was trying her hardest to look after us, look after Dad, who'd gone from being a really successful travelling businessman in his youth to now being more or less incapacitated. And yeah, so Mum started to take ill as well, and from sort of like the age of 7 towards 9, things just were not good. They were really not good, because my mum and dad needed so much help, and the way that we earned money was by selling the parrots, because we bred them. So that was the start of my working life. But as a child, you don't know that. You don't know that you're a carer. You don't know that you're working. You're just living your best life. And I did love it, because I didn't have to go to school. So I was like, this is amazing. Like, I love the parrots, love my mum. And then it just got to the point where it was like one was in hospital the whole time, and then one had come out and the other one had come out, and started, like, the nurses were teaching me how to give injections to oranges. And I look back now as an adult and I think, like, where were the services that are supposed to help young people? It just wasn't there.
How old were you here?
So like about 9, 10 at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Whoa.
yeah, that's what happened there. And then I did end up going to secondary school for a couple of years, and I just really struggled to get into groups. So I was friends with every single group. You know, like when you see these American films and there's all those different types of kids.
Yeah.
I just kind of like weaved my way in between
Butterflied.
everyone. Yeah, because I just couldn't find where I kind of belonged. And I knew I loved makeup, so I'd hang around with the makeup girls, but then I loved wrestling, so then I'd hang around with the girls that loved wrestling, and I'm still friends with them now. Like, I'm still in contact with all of those people, maybe not as close as I would like to be, but we still make contact on social media. But basically, as every year went on, it got more difficult to try and sustain a normal school life when reality was happening at home, and that reality was a lot of work. So you got the animals. I'd got both my parents that were ill, my younger brother, and yeah, it was we used to have, my friends would come round, my local friends, one in particular who's still with me now. We've literally lived our lives together, and helped me with housework. So all the other kids were going to the park, and we were doing the housework, and we were cleaning out the aviaries. But at the time, it still doesn't feel sad, but it wasn't a normal everyday childhood.
Did you feel that eventually? Did you
Yeah.
see what was going on with everyone else and think, this is different?
Literally didn't even realise till I was an adult.
Really?
I didn't know, because that was just
no services either. Sorry. Just...
So like social services came in around year 10.
Yeah.
Year 9, because I'd left. I met them once. That was the end of that. And by that point, I'd already found my dad. I found my dad dead in the house, basically, at one point. So that was like the pinnacle of life change.
Was that through just his illness and everything like that?
Yeah, it was just deteriorating. But we'd had this like really big surprise party when we thought he was getting better. I'm so glad we did, because so many family members that I'd never met came, and we really did have that party. But then, unfortunately, after that, it was a bit of false hope, really, because the doctors thought he was getting better, and then he just had a heart attack and just died. So, and it was just, you just think, oh, okay, well, I wasn't really expecting that. And I think sometimes people are a bit weirded out the way that I can speak about this so clearly, but I've lived my whole life through this, and it's been a huge part of who I am today, and I know this can sound really strange to someone that's listening and probably hasn't been through this kind of trauma, but I'm really grateful for every experience that I've had in my life, because with Warriors, I can connect with so many people, what they've been through.
Yeah.
So that's how it all really happened. Obviously, that was the end of school then.
Yeah.
So going in as an adult, trying to find a job, I'd got no qualifications, couldn't really even read and write properly. So
how was school's approach to this?
I literally, when I look back now, I don't know how this happened, but I went into school with my mom and said, I'm not really coping. I don't feel like I can connect with the kids my age, because at this point I'd already organised a funeral and mum wasn't very well. And, you know, they're talking about going on the pot for a drink. I'm talking about funeral organisation and home life and money and, you know, food, going shopping. So I just couldn't connect with them.
About 15,
This was 14. Yeah, so this was at 14.
Okay.
And I remember going into school, having the meeting with the head of year, and they were like, okay, see you later then. Literally, like, that was the end. That was it. That was done. But then at the very end of the conversation, the teacher said, look, I'm going to have a chat with the college, and there is this, like, weird way to get young people into college. So I'm only year 9, and I went to college the following September. And I did multimedia. So I learned about radio, mic, filming, lights, all that sort of thing. And I was
Nailing
like,
it.
I love this. Yeah, this is so amazing. And because those people were older, I did actually connect with them. But again, I didn't stay there long because other things were happening, and my life was changing, and I did what I've always done my whole life, which was put my wings back on, and off I went.
Really?
With no qualifications again.
Was that quite a pivotal moment, though, being in college?
Yeah, it was. I think that a lot of what I'm doing with my life today, those small little things, and I'm a big believer in, like, small things having a massive effect, can change everything, because I met these creative people that I'd never been around before, and I was like, these are my people, like, these are so creative. And that we did creative writing, we did vox pops, going out and recording voice, and I was just completely like, this is the best thing I've ever come across. And then that I just sort of went, even though I still loved it. I'd never learnt what a routine was, so I found it really hard to be getting up in the morning and going and actually doing it. Even though I loved it when I was there, like, trying to actually, like, look at a program and think somebody's controlling my life here, like, I have to be in this place at this certain time, was just not for me. So I was gone again.
Do you correlate that, amount of trauma you're going through and having to structure so much of your life to why you enjoyed creativity so much, and it gives this freedom to explore and be imaginative and think outside of boxes?
Yeah, 100%. I think music, so the whole way through the childhood was an organ in the back room and an electronic keyboard, and I'd found that was my escape. So music was a great thing for me. So when it come to organising, I went to church on a Sunday, so that was probably the only thing that I really stuck to. But they had so much fun stuff there, like ping pong and activities and things like that. So if it was fun, then I could stick to the routine. And if it was to do with music, I'd be there. But if it was like doctor's appointments or something a little bit serious, I wouldn't be there. So having a timetable today as a grown-up, I hate saying that word, but like a kind of grown-up, the timetable makes me be where I need to be. And because other people are affected by that, if I don't turn up, I've affected other people, and still to this day, it's the only way to get me anywhere.
Yeah. Again, I said we're going to be friends. So what else within that sort of timescale where you're dealing with so much do you take away from and attribute to who you are today?
I think that going through those different things, because like there's a lot of things behind there. So there was like me finding alcohol, there was me finding men as a young woman, all of those distractive things that come into young people's lives,
seeking sort of validation.
Exactly. And I wanted that love so much. I just wanted to build a family really quickly, so I got married at 17.
Married at 17?
Yeah, I literally just went and got married to a dancer.
Did you have to go to that place in Scotland?
Gretna Green? No. So you're more like, no one's ever heard of this, but your parents can give you permission to get married, or could back then.
Fair.
So, so that was like faster than Britney Spears divorced in 6 months. But he's really cool. And
how old was that guy?
I think he was only like 2 years older than me.
Okay.
He was a dancer.
Sounds like
and
he was
really
going
creative.
through some stuff himself.
Yeah, I
maybe.
think so. I think both of us were just like, yay, let's
Seeking
get married.
something.
Let's just fix all these problems with a really big castle wedding. And that we didn't really fall out. We just kind of realised really quickly that was not happening at all. And I look back at that time in my life, and I didn't want to go to work, which is just not who I am. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to do anything. And I just wasn't myself at that time at all. So when that finished, which was quite quick, there was a bar in Derby, and I don't know if anyone who listens to this podcast will remember this, but it was called Coyote Wild.
Chrissy will.
Oh,
How old are you?
So I'm 36 now.
Yeah, Chrissy's 39.
No way.
I know.
No
yeah.
way.
She just
So
looks
young.
stunning, isn't she?
Yeah, amazing.
10 years difference.
No
but, yeah,
way. Oh yeah, she's gorgeous.
she definitely knows it.
Oh, good. Well, basically, I just went out and they got a job. Back then, jobs were in the newspaper and stuff like that. And I thought, you know what? I've been a dancer for quite a while now because I was dancing in like the old Destiny Elite and stuff.
What's that?
So this is like. Anyone that's nearly 40 will remember Destiny and Elite. It was like Pink Coconut. It was like a big nightclub, and we did like fire dancing and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And I tootled off to Coyote Wild, and I was like in these auditions, crawling all over the floor. And I thought, I remember this from college, like all these dramatics. And I became a coyote, and that was definitely one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Really?
Like I found myself so much at that place, and my confidence, and like dancing on the bar, and then I started to think, actually, I really like working. And I think that's when like the work addiction came.
Was that... I love it. I really love this podcast. Do you know that moment there? And you were saying before you're in school and you're having an identity crisis necessarily,
Yeah.
sort of really don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Was this, and maybe college was a moment too,
Yeah.
was that the self-discovery sort of presenting itself and going on a path of who are you?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it really was, because I'd never really been to kids' parties. So, you know, like as a child, you go and do fancy dress and,
Yeah.
and all of these things, and you start to learn what you like.
Yeah.
That wasn't there for me. So one minute I was going to a job interview and the next minute I was dressed up as a cowgirl, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And all the attention that came with that, because back then people would travel to go to that club. Everyone knew who the Coyotes were and stuff like that. So it made me realise that I loved people, that I actually was a really happy person, not
Yeah.
a constantly sad person, and that I liked working in a team.
Yeah.
So all of these things, like I was there for years. I went off and had a baby and still came back.
Really?
Yeah, I just loved it so much, so much.
Just a tangent. Can you tell me a bit about that part of your life, because it sounds wild?
The coyote life.
Yeah.
So back then, I mean, you know, there's so many rules and regulations on everything, but it just wasn't like that back then. It was literally like the film, you know, where you're throwing water on people.
Yeah.
You lie on the bar, people take shots off your stomach, and this was
Mate.
all okay.
This like weekends really, or was it?
It was open every night, but
Wow.
like Thursday to kind of Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go home. I was just there. I was just there, but it was great because you'd have dance practice. So it wasn't just bar girls that were just getting up, and like we had to know the routines. And I've obviously taken that with me now as a choreographer, and
course.
I often look back to those days, and some days, you know, when I'm not feeling creative, I literally take myself back and listen to that music and think, oh, those days were just amazing. And
Why doesn't that exist anymore?
I don't know. I remember when the manager came in, it was all going corporate, and the big mistake they made was they took the cowgirls off the bar because they said that it was time that you could be selling drinks. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? When you start to remove the magic from something for profit, it just goes down. And I remember having that conversation with him and saying, you're making a huge mistake. Like, this is like the circus. People come for this.
Yeah.
And they didn't listen.
I bet that happened quite soon, didn't it?
It was
sort of?
really quick. It was just,
Really?
it's like watching a wall fall down.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, so that was...
Yoink.
Yeah.
I love that you said take the magic away from it.
Yeah.
Because that, your niche, your UPS, you need to have hold
100%.
of that and run with it.
And that's where so many people go wrong, is that, you know, they have this fantastic vision at the beginning of something.
Yeah.
And then as money comes in and people come in, that vision starts to dwindle. And I'm so passionate about that not happening with Warriors, you know, and sometimes I can get really excited with the dance and think, yeah, and then I think, no, this isn't about me. This is about them. They're the stars. And not everyone can do a triple spin. So it's removed from the routine, because that's ego, isn't it? That's not the Warriors. That's me trying to show off when they're the stars of the show.
Just once in a while,
Yeah,
though.
just when I'm on my own.
I'd be in that class enjoying it.
Yeah.
There's that person doing them better than anyone ever could.
Exactly.
So you're going from your Coyote Wild days.
Yeah.
Then this place has made a terrible mistake.
Yes.
And it's trying to go corporate.
Yeah.
Where does Dominique go then?
So I actually was dating at the time one of the doormen from that club, who is the father of my 2 beautiful daughters.
Amazing.
So we got married. We were actually married for like 7 years, which is what brought me up to this area. Because there's a huge thing with the Coyote story is that it actually became national news. Horrific situation.
Oh.
So all the police were involved because there was all letters coming to the club that one of the girls was going to be attacked. This was really dramatic at the time. So we were all really scared. Cut a very long story short, those letters were actually coming from the same girl who was getting attacked.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
It was a nightmare. So like it was this
Needs
big
a
Casanova.
documentary done on that.
It's literally got one. It's like you can Google it. It's a huge story. So
Well, she experiencing trauma herself and then just wanting some form of attention. And...
yeah, she was trying to get the attention of another man so that he would protect her. But she simulated so many situations that traumatized us girls. It ended up in me finding her like basically tied up, that she'd sort of made up herself, and
Done it.
yeah,
Whoa.
total nightmare. And bearing in mind I'd already found my dad in that situation in real life, it was all traumatizing.
Do you know, is she all right now? Like,
I know
just on
that
the
they
side?
sent her for major help,
Cool.
so we're not in contact anymore. I know that she got the help that she needed.
Brilliant.
Which is obviously a great thing. And
I'd like to get her on the podcast one day.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it would
It's a
be interesting
story.
to see what's going on there.
Yeah.
I think that the reason that it's important to talk about that is that because of the victim protection, I was moved here to this area, and that's how I actually ended up here.
So she literally caused this ruckus.
Yeah.
And people literally got moved to different areas for the
Yeah.
protection.
Like, we all got picked up in cars and weren't allowed to speak to each other. I didn't know I was pregnant at the time. So when my baby was born, I'd got no one to show her to. I'd got no friends. So I remember just
Can't
bringing
even
a baby home to nobody.
comprehend this.
Yeah,
This
it's
is such
crazy.
a story.
It is crazy, but it's how I ended up here, you know.
Well, hello.
Yeah.
Whereabouts
Amber
is that?
Valley.
Is it Alfreton?
So
Right.
I moved to Somercotes.
Cool.
Yeah, I moved to Somercotes. Lived there for 7 years. And again, because of what I've been through, I just didn't want to really have any friends.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to know anyone. So my first daughter, Faith, who's amazing, it was
Beautiful
kind
name.
of like, yeah, I know, well, you've got to have faith, haven't
Yeah.
you? So
It's in a song somewhere.
it is, yeah. Don't worry, I didn't call the next one Hope or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we came here, and 7 years of just being isolated, really. I think I went for a couple of walks at Pennytown Ponds, but that was it. I had no friends for so long.
Were you sat ruminating then? Were you
Just kept
inside?
going over it all the time, because like when I did find that situation, there was a lot of bangs, and I'm quite sensitive to noise anyway. So then every
too.
night since, if there's a bang, I'm just like panic straight away. So I just didn't want to go anywhere. And you know what happens when people stay in their homes? Those problems sort of amplify a little bit, or a lot.
Yeah,
And
a lot.
yeah, I just stopped going out, stopped seeing people, you know. And then of course you get forced as a mum to leave the house when school happens. So there was
yeah.
the school run and that sort of thing. That started to get me out a bit more.
Were you doing any self-development during this time though? Were you looking at podcasts or books or anything there to help you in this trapment?
Nothing. I remember that being like, I think that when I have interviews or when I talk about my childhood, I think people think that was the dark time, but that wasn't the dark time. The dark time was actually being a mum with a baby with no friends. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about women now.
I get quite emotional now.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm looking at your life that you live in. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
Like, you know, there is such isolation for women when they have babies. And I think that it just isn't addressed enough, because we're supposed to be so happy and the goddess, the giver of life, and do you know what, it doesn't always feel like that. Sometimes it feels like I don't recognize this body, I don't recognize these feelings, this baby won't stop crying. And honestly, that can be a dark time.
Wow.
I mean, that little baby's my best friend, you know, she's my best friend, she's amazing, but that still happened. And I think to not have someone to show your baby to and say, girls, my baby, or, you know, no baby shower, no nothing.
Am I doing this right even? You don't know, do you?
Literally
You've
didn't
got to
know
make your
what
own
I was doing.
whole system.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember my ex-sister-in-law dropping me off some toast. That was like one of the best days of my life.
Oh, mate.
I'm not even joking. Like, I just remember thinking this toast, and it was almost ceremonial the way I ate it. Like, put TV on, and like, it was just...
People are living like this, aren't they?
Yeah,
Like, wow.
hundreds and thousands of women are living like this. And, you know, I was very blessed in the fact that although I'm not with my ex-partner anymore, he wasn't a horrible person. You know, I can't imagine what women are going through who've also got a situation where the partner isn't helping or isn't really there. I can't imagine what they're going through, but it's always on my mind when I reflect on that time. So I think the work that I could have done at that time, I do now, reflecting on that time, if that makes sense.
I'm going to try and lift us a minute,
Yeah.
because I will end up crashing, like we said earlier, and I'll just be a sobbing mess on the floor in a minute. So, how did you rise through this? Like, what was a moment of you becoming out and about and immerse yourself in this?
Are you ready for another crazy story? Because this is like...
Mate, it's the best podcast I've ever done. Like, I'm happy for it. So yeah, honestly, take us away.
Okay, so my brother really made a massive change in my life. So he was at Willington Power Station and he decided to just help a friend who was doing photography, and they did a photo shoot at Willington Power Station, and roughly about 3 months later, those photos ended up in Milan on the table of Mr. Armani, and my brother was signed to Armani and flown out to Milan.
What?
Yeah, that's how we were. We were like, what is happening here? Because we'd never seen this coming. He was all martial arts and, you know, this sort of thing.
These photos got the way to Armani in Milan.
Yes, I don't know how.
Does he know how?
No, nobody knows how. I mean, like, the news were all over it and all sorts, because at first me and my mum were like, oh, this sounds really dodgy. Like, he's going to Milan. What's going to happen? But no, he opened the winter show and, you know, he ended up in Milan as a very top model for years. And I found myself really interested because he was the first person who'd ever spoken to me about positive energy. I didn't really know what he was on about. And I remember going to my mum's and he was like, no, that's so negative. Like, you need to be positive. And I was thinking...
How old's he just at?
He's 2 years younger than me.
Awesome.
Yeah, 2 years younger than me. Like, the most free spirit ever. He's like... doesn't really even live in society, so he's like got a van and just goes around.
Mate,
and
stop
he's got
living
a house
my
and
dream.
stuff,
What's
but
his
I know,
name?
Vincent Azzo
Calm
Pardy.
down. It's my
He's
life.
awesome.
That.
He is awesome. But I found myself then speaking to his friends and other photographers, and I'd started like putting people together without realising it, thinking, hold on a minute, I'm putting a lot of photographers and models together here. This is just through contacts of our family. So I opened a modelling agency from my kitchen in Summercoats, and it was so interesting. We did like the most creative photo shoots, like looking at This Is England in the 80s, like how things started to change.
Quite retro style stuff.
Yeah, really artistic, and working with photographers all over the place. And there was no profit, there was no money. It was kind of like just this creative, amazing journey. And one day I went to Manchester to meet another agent. And she was like, how come you're not modelling? I was like, no. She was like, no, you really should be. And I ended up getting into modelling. So I sort of went from this isolated, quiet life to then becoming a glamour model of all models. I was a glamour model. And I just met the most amazing women. Like, that industry is so misunderstood.
I mean, there's so much meat in here with your brother and stuff.
Yeah.
Was that near the 2015 marker here?
No, so that was around 2009, 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, like we're saying, the industry didn't accept, no, it's getting better now, hopefully.
Yeah.
But wasn't accepting very much then.
No.
Were you in better shape there, or?
So, like, my weight has always been up, down,
Okay.
up, down. So what happened was, when you have babies, everybody's body's completely different. But I'd ended up with like a lot of loose skin around my tummy.
And when I say better shape, sorry, just to say better shape for their vision.
For their vision,
Yeah.
exactly. So I ended up, it's really interesting that you brought this up actually. So I ended up wearing a steel-boned corset most of the time, which is obviously not good for anybody at all.
Doesn't that like sort of reconfigure the organs?
Totally, like literally, like how in historical times, I got it on all the time, and it became almost a part of who I was. I'd like found this character
through your choice, or
through my own choice.
Yeah.
I remember putting it on for one photo shoot, and then thinking, love that. And then got a little bit like hyperfixated, and that was that became a part of that character. So the corset was this big interest part of the character, and that was really successful for me. You know, really, really successful, really, and ended up on TV. And so I'd gone.
If you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
what sort of money are we talking there? Is it
Oh,
quite
ridiculous.
really healthy stuff?
Yeah, it's
Like
a
the
lot, a
amount?
hell of a lot of money. I mean,
Really?
back then, so we're 2009. Yeah, I was probably doing like £2,000 a week.
A week?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And bearing in mind, I'd gone from no money at all to that.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the entrapment of that industry trying to get back out is almost like, this is why people struggle to get back out. And this is way before all these famous websites that we all know about now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Why is there so much money in that industry at that time? Who was buying it? How was it? Advertisement stuff or?
I mean, back then, this is old school glamour. So you had to be published. You'd got to have been in Sunday Sport or Maxim or something like that. You'd got to be published. You couldn't just get a webcam.
Yeah.
It's just not how it was. You had to work very, very hard. And I think what people don't realise about this industry is the training that you get. So you get training on, it's almost like being at the Samaritans. There's so much stuff you can't speak about on phones and things like that. You can't speak about it. And I will honestly say, and I will say this for the rest of my life, I think I saved as many lives being a glamour model on a phone as I do in Warriors now. Because it's lonely people that call.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a really misunderstood industry.
Okay. Yeah, really interesting. So you're doing the glamour modelling.
Yeah.
What is it doing to your mind? Because financially you're stable and you're good, but you're feeling the need to look a certain way, be a certain way, and it's turning you physically not very healthy.
Yeah.
What's the mind saying at this point?
Completely unhealthy. Like equally, well, probably more unhealthy than what I was doing to my own body, strapping myself into corsets for 8 hours at a time. The problem is that when you're a person who's so desperate to be loved, and bearing in mind I'm still in a marriage at this point, you're going to these places not just for money, you're going for validation. And I guess that's what I was chasing majority of my life, was validation, was just to be successful in any way. But when you want to stop doing that, which is probably around about 20 minutes after you start, if you're honest with yourself, when you want to stop, you need support around you. You need the right people saying, do you know what, you're doing the right thing. You know, you don't have to do this. And when you've got the wrong people around you encouraging you because of the money, it's really, really hard to get out of.
Yeah.
And that's where I found it. That's where the trouble started for me, was that I didn't want to be there for the last 18 months of doing it. And that's where it can become dangerous, because providing that a person is doing what they want to do and they're enjoying it, then I don't see a problem. But when somebody's doing something they don't want to do and they're not enjoying it, that's when it becomes a problem.
That search for wanting to be loved and that validation, how far back is it? Even before your dad's death that was coming into play? And was there stuff that you can look back at now and be reflective of and go, I think there was some trauma there potentially, maybe unconsciously being given?
Definitely.
But still stuff.
I think it was always there. I think it was always there because I've have such a vibrant personality. Like, as soon as the sun's up, I'm up. And like, for example, now if I've got a class on a Monday night, if somebody cancels because they're genuinely ill, I still get upset thinking they don't want to play with me. Like, you know, it feels the same kind of feeling. So I think
if I have a kid here just say I'm bored, I'm like, that's a massive attack. I'm like, I've got about 12 things for you to do.
Because you've put so much into it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know what you're saying here.
Even as a kid, it was like that for me. Like, if I was up and no one else was up, like, that hour would take 1,000 years to go past. And that's when, you know, you look back now and you think, I mean, I'm diagnosed with ADHD now. I was not as a child. That's when I look back thinking, no wonder I was constantly bored and constantly wanting to do more. And I think that because just the way that my childhood was, there wasn't loads of activity. I wasn't going on holiday or going to kids' clubs or going out for tea at my friend's house and things like that. And I think that it starts very early with a child. It starts very, very early from them cuddles, reading
very
at
malleable,
night.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it makes a big, big difference. And as a mother, I try to install as much as I can. And, you know, my mum, I always say all parents did the best job they knew how to do.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, I really do. And I think if you...
It takes a lot of weight off, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And resentment.
For you yourself, it's so helpful to know that and to believe that. And, you know, my mum is an amazing person, and the things that she's been through are way out of the stratosphere of what I've been through. You know, she's the warrior. But as a child, you just need that magic.
Yeah.
You know, you need that magic. And if the magic's missing, then you will constantly look for it. And before my dad got really poorly, one thing that he did do was take me to the circus, and that became a lifelong hyperfixation. Wow. To the point, you know, I have my top hat, I work in a big tent, there's lights everywhere, and that is my escape every day, all day,
I
every
really
hour.
want to come to one of these classes.
Yeah, you need to come.
Sound
It is literally like The
amazing.
Greatest Showman live.
Oh my God, you're incredible. Yeah, because I'd love to get in the childhood trauma stuff, but
Yeah.
also I'm really enjoying the timeline of the story. So we'll go here.
Yeah.
I would say anybody really interested in something of listening to a psychologist talk about that. Have you heard of Gabor Mate?
I think, yes.
He was on a recent Rogan.
Yeah.
And that is possibly one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to.
Really?
I've rewatched it 3 times and I'm going back to it today. That's
Oh,
my
wow.
today plan. I'm going to have a walk and listen again.
I need to do that.
Just really, really good. He is 74. He was in the wartime as a Jew. His mum, you know,
Wow.
there was so much trauma here. Just a phenomenal guy. So yeah, if you're looking at childhood trauma and that generational trauma, it's a good podcast to maybe go to.
I'll definitely listen to that.
Just as an idea. But okay, we'll jump back over here then.
Yeah.
Modelling,
Yeah.
unhealthy mind, healthy pocket.
Yeah, exactly that. That should be the slogan.
yeah. We've all been there, mate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, where does this actually... Because your brother sounds like he's ingrained in it slightly and slowly.
Yeah.
And he's got this really incredible spiritual look on things.
Yes. Yeah.
Where does it transcend for you?
I mean, I never regret anything. You know, I would never regret anything at all. And I think that, you know, all of these parts of my life, it's almost like looking at different people to the point. There's like a film that I watched once called Big Fish. Have you ever seen it?
I'm going to. Yeah,
Right,
that sounds
you need to watch
amazing.
it, right. So Big Fish, at the very end of his life, I won't tell you the whole thing if you're going to watch
please
it. But he basically says this line, and he says, "The story of my life, it's unbelievable." And I have never resonated with anything more in my life, because when I have these interviews or when I do these talks, I have to stand back sometimes and think, did this really all happen?
Yeah.
And it really did. And, you know, when you look at that timeline, it's like I've lived 10 lives in one. And I'm so grateful of that, because, you know, when I see other people still doing the same thing and just kind of existing, maybe that's fine for them and they're happy with that. I can't do that. Like, I have this gypsy spirit. So to be able to have so many lives in one go has brought me to this place where I am actually happy now.
There was a new film out at Christmas that were doing it. It was on a train, and every time they go into a carriage, it's like they're taking off 10 years off their life or something.
Oh, wow.
And they're going into the mist of all that. It was really deep.
sounds
And it was
amazing.
done by... Did you ever see The League of Gentlemen?
Yeah.
The guys that wrote that. So it was done in that quite dark, humid sense of style.
Yeah.
But I think it is about a similar thing of this generational trauma kind of stuff
Yeah.
and where it's built from.
Oh, I can understand
Yeah.
the concept of that, definitely.
What's yours called? Big Fish?
Big Fish.
I'm going to watch that.
And it's amazing because every story is true,
Yeah.
but perhaps perceived differently by every listener, is what I'll say. So,
Calm down.
Yeah.
Not ready for this. Right, catch it all. Okay, so we're growing and we're learning from the stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is next in this timeline then?
So after the modelling, there was a bit of a break because I'd had Faith, my eldest daughter. I've got Kira, my middle daughter, and I was realising at this point that I didn't want to be a model anymore. Like, I didn't want to do it. And running equally alongside that journey was the fact that myself and my ex-partner just were not anywhere near each other in this life.
Could I
really.
psychoanalyse that a little bit? Like, what was...
We're just completely different people.
Yeah. Was
and
he just
we
a
always
bouncer?
were. Yeah. So he was a doorman, and he'd got another day job as well. But I think when I got into that marriage, I didn't know who I was at all. Like, I hadn't got a clue. I was only interested in dancing. That big thing happened, moved here, pregnant, concentrating on how on earth to be a mum. Then there was the middle bit of, oh, I'm going to be a glamour model now. And, you know, that was good financially. And it was good in the fact that during that agency, I learned a lot about business. I learned how to build a website. I'd started to use apps on my phone to be able to spell words properly and that sort of thing. And that's always helped me. Technology has always helped me to do that, because I was great with pictures, but really bad with words.
Yeah.
And obviously I couldn't do maths, so the business didn't really go anywhere. But I started to realise I was really unhappy in probably every aspect of my life, apart from being a mum. And that was time to end both. Both needed to end at the same time. And they did. And that is when I've got a lovely spider on my mic, and he's just enjoying this journey with me. Maybe it's a money spider.
Listening in intently.
Literally.
Go on, what the heck?
So I ended up going on a night out with my friends, and I just wasn't drinking I don't drink very much anyway, but I really wasn't that bothered about drinking this night. And the girl that I was with wasn't that bothered either. So we decided we were more interested in food, which is a normal thing for me. Yes, so straight to the pizza shop or chippy. And just remember walking down this road in Nottingham and just looking through this window. My friend went in to get chips. I decided I actually didn't want any by the time I got there, so we must have had quite a walk. And she just looked out the window, and I looked, and I saw this man stood next to her. She come back out, and I said, "Oh my God, look who it is." She was like, "Who is it?" Thinking it was a celebrity. Now, this is the cheesiest thing I've ever said, but I said, "It's the most beautiful man in the world." And it was Joe, my now husband.
Is he in here?
Yeah, he's there. Hi,
My
Joe.
God, yeah. Like cameras, everyone on it.
And I was just like, it was that
a
moment.
great
Like,
thing
I've
to
never
say.
like believed in love at first sight, but it honestly was.
Really?
Like, literally from that moment.
What was he wearing?
Yeah, he was wearing a really tight shirt, 'cause that's what he always wears.
Go Joe. Has got
Black
pecs,
hair.
guys, just to let you know.
Yeah.
Pops up picture.
We'll get a selfie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one minute I was looking at him, the next minute he'd walked out of the chippy and said, "Do you want a chip?"
Wow.
That
so
was
did
the
he see you
line.
staring, basically?
Yeah, like he must have. I must have been that girl that was just like
Captivated.
Yeah, I know that's terrible, isn't it? But it is how it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he gave me his number, and I texted him in the taxi on the way back, and he started calling me Amber. So I was like, oh, he really listened. This is great. But it was because my picture said Amber Valley on the bottom, and he'd never heard of Amber Valley, so he thought my name was Amber.
I love that.
So that was
You should have kept that going for a while.
I know. Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Might change my name now.
Bit of a A-list.
But so I met Joe, and my life actually really, really did change. So I went and rented a house on my own. Now, I'd never done that. Never been completely independent before. Went and got this house on my own, and Joe asked if he could come round for tea. He came round for tea in a Mini with drawers, a TV, a wardrobe. Like, he didn't come for tea, he just moved in.
Yeah.
Like, uninvited. Absolutely uninvited. And
I've got this lovely image of him just popping everything around. You're just
literally
bemused and bewildered, like, okay.
making out he was helping with knives and forks. But, you know, that happened so quickly. But what really happened there is that thing I've been searching for my whole life, I'd found it.
Yeah.
I'd found it. And, yeah, Joe came on the scene. Joe was a
Yeah,
young...
articulate that. What was that thing?
So at the time, Joe was a PCSO in the police, and I never really had much to do with the police before. So I was like, oh, okay, that's new. And he was just doing his exams to become a police officer. So I was just like really excited about this. I just thought this is so exciting. He's really good looking. He's a policeman. I'm ticking all my boxes here.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. And yeah, we just had this like lovely, probably one of the best years of my life was the first year of our relationship, because it was the first time that I'd found freedom to actually just be me in every way. I wasn't having to go and work constantly. I was focusing on myself, my home, my children, and this new partnership, and exploring what that could be. And Joe passed his exams and became a police officer. And that following Christmas, he proposed to me. And I was very, very happy to say yes. And then I found out I was pregnant in March with my son, Alfie, who is the most creative person I've ever met. And yeah, so I'd had this little baby, and I thought, right, what am I going to do with my life now? Because I always need a project. So I'm married again. I've got a house. I've got a new baby. And
but you're in a very different mindset around here.
totally different.
You're present, you're calm, you're relaxed, and you've got time and space to think about what you want to cultivate.
Exactly. Like, I'm calm is the main thing. I
Yeah.
think there's no disasters happening.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of
or
for
like
me.
subconscious flutting around, like
Yeah.
lonely and
Like, that's all
dark and all
gone.
that. There's no heaviness here.
No.
You're sat in full. I can conduct something. I can create something here.
Exactly, with support.
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
we like sat at night. We used to call it school nights. That we just called it school nights, where we would sit and talk all night. Just talk and talk and talk about our ideas, because Joe's quite a creative person as well, and every idea that I came up with was always met with support and encouragement.
Yeah.
And I just hadn't had this before.
What had you had prior to that, and what was the polar of that? Was it literally not that's stupid or
Money, and we got to do this for money, and
Yeah.
obviously the industry I was in was all about money.
Yeah.
And there was no encouragement to ever return back to that, which was very important to me at that time. So I had a couple of ideas, because obviously I'd played with building websites with the agency. So I thought maybe I could build websites, but the problem that kept coming was the fact that I couldn't read and write properly. So I was having to blag it with clients. I'm finding clients. I'm now on Facebook, building the websites beautifully, but they had to send all of the text and I would just copy and paste it,
Yeah,
because there was no way that I could have articulated that into, I couldn't have done any grammar or anything like that. So I was doing all of that, and I've got this little baby, and I just heard about the Prince's Trust, and I was like, yeah, well, what is that? Because I'm 28 now, so I saw that you could do it up to 30, and 28, 29, whichever one it was, and I found myself on this bus to Derby and going to the council houses, and I went into this Prince's Trust meeting. Now, bearing in mind, I don't go anywhere on my own or do anything. This was a big thing for me. And I got there, and they gave me this form. Couldn't fill it in. Just couldn't even fill it in. Had no idea what to do. I just got this baby, and it felt like school again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to run, like, at first I just
Worthless.
thought, get me out of here. Yeah, like, exactly worthless. Like, looking around thinking, what are people thinking about me?
Yeah.
And this, like, really jolly little woman called Jen just come up. She was like, hi, and, oh, hello, baby, making a big fuss of Alfie as well. And I just felt comfortable enough to say to her, I don't know how to fill my form in. So then I was thinking, is there going to be a pause? Like, how's this going to go? She's like, don't worry, come and sit on my side. Let's do it together. It was so...
Oh, mate.
Just like...
You found your spirit animal.
Yeah, literally. There was just no judgment at all.
Do you know her? Like...
We're still in contact.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and mate,
yeah.
just... What a woman.
Yeah, we're still in contact.
Wow.
She is amazing, and I think of Jen, and I think how many lives she must have changed. Just doing her in her little
Being
way.
her.
And
It's about that quote: "Be the change you want to see."
exactly.
Yeah,
and
she was that.
She was that person, and
Wow.
this is why I think it's so important to value every single job. No matter where you work, you're coming into contact with other people, and just by having that compassion for one person, that her changing my life now changes many other lives, and it's almost like that ripple effect, isn't it, of the
It's really
good gift.
advice, that.
The good gift, I always call it.
The good gift.
Yeah, if you
Passing
can
on.
just give it to
Wow.
someone.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she filled in this form, and then I got a call, and we were going to this thing called the Enterprise Programme. So I was like, 5 days of people in like a really schooly environment. I was like, nah, no way. But I did it. And they helped me to find like adult education for English and maths. And I got to speak to people who'd been homeless, who had then become millionaires and in between. And they were sort of talking about, I remember one man in particular saying to me, oh, you know how you said earlier about having full pockets, and he got no family. And he said, I used all of the time that I could have built my life building an empire. And I'll never forget him saying this, because I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I really want to have both. I want somewhere in between. And so all these talks really helped me. And so I finished the Enterprise Programme. I went and did my adult GCSEs, English and maths. Then I did British Sign Language, level 2 fitness, and started just building. This is new hyperfixation now. So now I'm like, yay, education. I'm so excited.
See a shiny thing.
Yeah, it was like my new thing. So I started learning bits and bobs, and Warriors then opened, because
Really?
I'd got that qualification, and just went and rented this little room, and with one speaker and one light and a baby. And I remember driving through Swanwick one day, just the week before I was due to start, thinking, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't know, I've just got a bad feeling. Just
Was
don't wanna
that
do
like
it.
imposter syndrome kind of
Yeah,
thing
it
coming
was
in?
absolutely intrusive thoughts just coming in.
Yeah.
And I can remember where I was driving. I know exactly where I was. And as I was driving, this song came on the radio, and it was the playlist, because I'd started listening to my playlist to try and know my music. And the song that came on was We Could Be Heroes. Like, we
Wow.
could be heroes.
David Bowie?
No, it's the...
Oh,
I can't
Just
think of
for
the name.
one
It's...
day. That one.
No, it's everyone thinks of that one first, but it's like a club version.
Okay.
I need to find out the name of the person. But she says, like, we could be heroes, and it goes on.
Nice.
And I just thought to myself, I really want to be that person. Like, I want to go and do this, because if I'm this scared, someone else is that
Yeah.
scared. And I just remember driving then around the roundabout towards Alfreton, and that thought process going. And I went on the Thursday and did that class, 9 people in the little class. And it was the best thing I've ever done, because
Really?
that was the start of my life.
How long was the class? An hour?
An hour, and I couldn't even time myself. I hadn't even got 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, I couldn't get it in my head because I was so nervous. And there was a lady who'd come to my class, stood next to me, and I was watching her feet. So I was watching her go to the music because I was so nervous. I couldn't even time myself. That person's now the director of Community Warriors. She's been by my side every day since.
Wow.
Like, she's been everywhere with me, and she was the one that was doing the writing in the beginning to help me. And yeah,
Why Warriors, though? The way that it looks, you've got to the Prince's Trust.
yeah.
How have you formulated all your passion, all your interest, all those things,
Yeah.
and gone, oh, this is what I'm going to go do?
Yeah, so because when I originally went to see them, it was about the websites.
Yeah.
But just having, so you have to go every week, and you have like coffee meetings. It's all very chilled. And I was talking more about the fitness class that I was designing than I ever was the website.
Yeah.
And Jen just like touched my hand and said, I think your interests are somewhere else. And I was like, yeah, I think they are. Yeah, it's just like, it was so like predestined, you know,
Yeah.
everything just sort of happened.
I'm such an emotional wreck. I'm so sensitive,
it.
and when you
It's
say
that empath.
stuff,
Yeah.
you just it really gets me, because I love mentors and good people in your life,
Yeah.
and they can just guide you, can't they?
Absolutely. This is...
I like Russell Brand's book. It's that mentors of, yes, have mentors in your life, but always remember to try and be one where you can too.
Absolutely.
Gives that balance factor.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you know, those classes, obviously that's where we go back to where we started, where the trolling started happening on the internet. And
Good story always comes back round, doesn't it?
it always comes back round. And one of the most exciting times of my life was I got a phone call, and we were filmed by NatWest for their advert because of the Prince's Trust. Because the Prince's Trust, they showcase you. They never make it about themselves. Honestly, it's all about the young person.
Yeah.
So the first experience of like actual real media was, you know, all these cameras coming into Warriors and the NatWest advert and things like that. And then the Daily Mail turned up, and it was getting a lot of hype because I was being written in the papers as the underdog, and I was like, I like that.
They need narratives, don't
yeah,
they?
they needed
But that's a
this
good
thing.
narrative.
I was cool with anything. Like,
Yeah.
I was just like, this is great. And then me and Joe went to Birmingham one day, and my phone rang, and I wasn't going to answer it because I was in Primark, and I just thought, no, I'm shopping, I don't want to work right now, maybe it's a bill or something. And I answered the phone, and it was a royal assistant.
Dude, the polarity of you being in Primark to speaking to a royal,
Literally.
or a royal assistant, or
Yeah.
part of the royal, that...
I thought someone was having me
Such
on.
a good story.
Honestly.
Okay. Go on, how does that conversation go? Manifest?
So she was like, hi, I'm a royal assistant calling on behalf of the Prince's Trust. And now I'd already agreed to give a talk in London, in Mayfair, to what's known as the Fellows. So the people who give all the money, basically.
Yeah.
So I was under the illusion that I was going to give this talk to the Fellows. What I wasn't made aware of is, until this phone call, is that I had been chosen by His Royal Highness specifically to meet with him,
Mate.
to present with him. And he, when I got there, paired me with the president of Coca-Cola.
Dude.
Literally, it was just insane. It was
Dude.
just the most
then.
incredible experience. And I remember just keep saying, you're joking. No, you're joking. I said, have you got the right person? And I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And it all went ahead. The train journey there was a nightmare. So the train just dropped us off in Sheffield, and we'd got like a couple of hours to be in Mayfair. So we ended up running, me and Joe running to this office, and all of the people at the train station helping us. They upgraded us to first class, and I was like, I know you're not going to believe me, but I'm on my way to see Prince Charles. And I know they didn't believe it, but they did believe us in the end, and they helped us, and we did get there on time. But the most important thing about that experience isn't, I met the future king, he is now the king, isn't he?
Pretty cool, man.
Yeah, he's now the king.
Yeah.
The most important thing was I was with him for like 20 minutes, something like that. It was a long time.
Yeah.
To be talking to somebody that you're incredibly nervous to speak to. But at the end, he came back, and the paper's got photos of him holding my hand, and he said, I'm so proud of how you took care of your family when you were so young, and I'm so proud of what you're doing now. And my whole life flashed in front of me thinking, you know, that little girl who was just constantly looking for that validation.
You're
if someone had
talking
said
to the future king
Yeah.
is holding your hand.
yeah, like, how does that happen? It's like Cinderella, isn't it?
It's the wildest story.
I know.
From where we've just travelled from to
crazy.
you holding the hand with the future king.
Yeah.
And him congratulating you on your whole story and what you've been on.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do this.
I know. I was so grateful for that.
Wow. Okay. So you've gone. What is that like? Talk. You're explaining the whole thing that you've been doing. You have to talk like we did today.
Yeah.
A bit about your past and stuff too.
I think my past is really important to people because, and that's why I'm grateful for it, is that it's important to people of all walks of life because
Adversity.
no matter who it is, they've been through something.
Resilience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And everybody's fighting something. And somewhere along that timeline, someone's relating with what I've been through somewhere. And it's important for people to understand that even if you do start with nothing, not even your own mental health, you know, not even the confidence to walk with your pushchair down the road, you can be the main stage at the end of it. And it can happen to anyone.
And whatever you want the main stage to look like for yourself.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to necessarily be performing to a big audience
No.
or do anything there.
It could be getting the job, anything.
Beautiful place to be.
Yeah.
Where you want to be. You're conducting it.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Okay. So let's just go to... You've had this meeting. You've had your class of 9.
Yeah.
How long are you doing this until you have the troll moment?
Not long. Seriously, not long. Like 6 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
It was really quick.
So, again, that sort of time frame of meeting the future king, really excitement to then being knocked down.
So it was the opposite way around. So when the trolling happened before I met
Oh, wow.
him, yeah. So when I first started the class, the trolling started pretty much straight away.
I get you.
Yeah. And then that was the build up because people were like, that's that girl that everyone was on about. And, oh, like that's that bigger girl. What they always used to say was, she's so normal. She's just normal. She's just like me. That was that was the go-to thing because I didn't look like what people knew as a fitness instructor that was maybe slapping their abs or...
It's normal kind of a compliment.
I don't know. I've questioned this so many times. Like,
I really like her, yeah.
When people say, yeah, you're just so normal, I think, am I? Like, what's normal? Like,
I
don't
think
even
there could be
know.
a book in that, but be normal.
Yeah, you know.
It's kind of
Like-
whatever that is, but
Normal to them.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess the only way to take that, really, when I look back, is that I wasn't intimidating them. I wasn't trying to push them to be something they didn't want to be or that was unobtainable. It was literally, if I can do it, so can you. And sometimes that's all you need, isn't it? Is that girl's got a baby and that girl's not that fit because I wasn't.
It's interesting. There's a lot of nuance in there, isn't there? Because I
Yeah.
suppose for me, normal, somebody tells me that, it helps humble me
Yeah.
and alleviate, oh, thank God, I don't have to keep on performing
Totally.
all the time and being something.
Yeah.
But then I do want the performance side of things to be respected and to be loved for what it is. So
Exactly.
normal may not be quite the right word. There's
Yeah.
something else in there, isn't there,
There is.
to add.
For them.
Beautifully normal.
Yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
get ya.
So yeah, I think that was so that was the opposite way round.
Would you say the Prince Charles moment then, the Prince Charles moment, was a help in that sort of the fog
Yeah.
of everything going off and people saying stuff?
Yeah.
That uplifted you and said, no, look where it's taken you though.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't believe my story. If I'm totally honest with you, it's a hard one to believe, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
you listen to all this, and it is a bit like, really? And I know,
Oh,
I
I'm
get
every
that.
step of the way. I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I get you.
I get that. So, because obviously people believe the media, sadly, that they'll
Yeah.
believe anything that the media says, and you know, all of a sudden, this girl with all these stories was in the Daily Mail, in every newspaper from here to wherever, and they wrote my story, and I got so much compassion from that, because people were like, oh, okay, yeah, that did actually happen then. And I was like, yeah, that did actually happen.
And I suppose, to some degree, unfortunately, we have got a society where it's based on winners and losers.
Yeah.
And there's some people that are losing, and they think the way to win is to drag people down.
100%.
And so they probably have had wild stories and really hard
Yeah.
upbringings and pasts, but they don't understand that they too could take this hero's journey.
Yes.
They just think it's easier to just pick flaw with it and just say, oh, you've had all this, you've
Yeah.
got this opportunity, you're just so lucky or whatever. They
Absolutely.
don't see all the build up and
No, they
how
don't.
hard you've had to rise from it.
Exactly. And even to
Notice
this
the
day,
luck as well, because luck is a part of everyone's story.
of course it is.
But you have to be wise to it and run with it.
Exactly. And you know
It's like
something.
the laws of attraction.
Oh, well, that's my favourite thing in the world. But I think, you know, I can meet so many talented people who have got fantastic opportunities and they don't take them. They don't take those opportunities. And yeah, I remember hearing something, let me try and get this right. So hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I always think about that, because
I heard that from Will Smith's mouth.
Is that
once.
who it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's probably he's taken it from Socrates,
Yeah.
I'm going to say.
Yeah, yeah. That's all the
But
way up
it was,
there.
no, he was, how I wanted to access my information was always Will Smith.
Yeah, I like that.
Voice, beautiful
Oh,
guy.
no, it's so rusty.
I wished he hadn't slapped that fella.
I know, gutted.
So unnecessary.
I think we all have those moments where we get caught out, though, and I think that that's human, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I looked at that. I remember watching the public response to that, thinking, you know, the only difference there is a camera. And when you're under that spotlight constantly, you can't always put your foot right. But I'm not saying that I agree with what he did.
No. It's just that everyone needed a hot take.
Yeah.
And I think I did, actually. So I just think people need to know it's not always necessary. You don't have to have an opinion on something straight away.
Yeah,
Let
exactly.
it do its thing.
Yeah.
Weigh up your thoughts a little bit more.
Yeah, take that time. That time. But as far as trolling, I don't think that will ever stop with me, and it just doesn't affect me anymore.
Do you still have it then?
All the time.
Wow.
Yeah, all the time. But you've got to remember, these people that write things like this, they're probably where I was, in that dark, isolated place, you know, because they don't say it when they see you. Quite often they wave. They wave.
Oh, well done, even. 'cause
Yeah.
people in person are very different to people online.
Totally. So, you know, my advice to anyone who's suffering with a creative life versus the public perception of it is, in Wreck-It Ralph, the Disney film, there's a bit and she says, don't read the comments. The rule with the internet, don't read the comments.
I've got my thing's called Post and Ghost.
Right.
And everyone comes up to me and they're like, you're online all the time. How do you have a healthy mind? Or how are you living with your family and all this?
Yeah.
I'm like, because I put something up and I'm gone.
Yeah, don't
I
look at it
post
again.
and ghost.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
literally, I don't look at what everyone's saying.
No.
It's all nonsense to me.
Exactly the same.
But I do have a business, so I need to advertise it and conduct it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be consumed in it.
No,
so
and it's really
that's
easy
my
to.
advice for people.
I love that.
But I suppose also I need to respect our business is on a bit of a level now where we are being seen.
Yeah.
There is some funding there and there are pots there and it's being noticed.
Yeah.
So I think on your rising up, maybe you do need to navigate it and be there with the connections and, you know, be in the inbox or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Some businesses that are brewing have to have that maturity and that networking element. I'm just of a
100%.
lucky place now where we've done it enough
Yeah.
to have that luxury of Post and Ghost.
Which is great. And I think that's great. And obviously I love seeing your stuff on
Thank
social
you.
media. I love what you do. It's just
Vice versa,
everything that I wish was around when I was a kid, because I would have walked here. This would have been part of my story 100%. And that's why I love it so much, because when I look at the young people that I see in your pictures, I still think, what brought you here? And I love that. I love that everyone has that story. And there's a saying, isn't there, about it's just business, it's not personal. Well, I never want to be a part of a business that isn't personal.
Yeah.
I really don't, you know, and I think that when you
Imagine
have
living
these
in that
visions,
life.
no.
So
Can you imagine?
formulated.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's how they take the cowgirls off the bar, isn't it?
Yo, yeah. Corporate.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, take the magic away.
Take the magic away.
Wow. So just to go back in then, you've had the 9,
Yeah.
mean comment,
Yeah.
then 45 come in,
Yeah.
and it's just exciting and electric, and you've seen something, and you think there's vision beyond this.
Yes.
So what time frame's that? That's the 2015.
So 2015, the trolling was happening.
Yeah.
Then got into the usual fitness wars with other fitness instructors. That's just normal with this
Yeah.
industry. So that created a new drama. That was the new EastEnders for the town.
Nice.
So everything works, everything's advertising. And it almost became a little bit like the 1980s dance cult, you know, like, meet me on the dance floor.
Yo, yeah. Seen the South Park on this recently. They're all having dance-offs and stuff.
Literally like
it's my
that.
favourite episode, that one. Yeah.
And it helped me to
You got
always think
served.
about it that way. Like, bring it on. It's always helped me to see it in like, I see things as cartoons or animals.
Yeah.
No, it's really weird, but I like process them in my mind as an animal or a cartoon. Yeah, exactly. I love it. I've got more of mine as well. And so I always saw it as like a bit of an 80s dance battle, but what it did was it brought even more people, and for the other people they got more people as well, because it was all a bit exciting. So like I say, you know, my rule has always been, don't open another class till this one's full. So you fill one class, you open the next one, the next one, the next one. And we moved to the Genesis Centre in Alfreton, and I remember walking in there thinking, oh my gosh, it's the circus, because it's an indoor marquee.
Yeah.
So I just like literally ran home. Same day I'd viewed the room, I was like, can I bring my lights and my projectors and my lasers? I just needed to see it. And I looked in there and I thought, I found it. This is it. My whole life has led to this room.
Oh my God.
And yeah, as soon as I opened the classes, like the classes are never like what you would see in a normal gym or anything like that. So everything I do is distractive. So they don't really know they're doing HIIT because they're in the middle of a circus class, or they don't know they're doing a routine dance because I break everything down. Is it really?
Yeah, I just trick them into it.
Yeah, perfect. And that's
you
the
like
thing.
lyrics? Yeah. Well, start writing me some lyrics down.
Yeah.
Dot, turn them all round. There, you got your own poem there.
Exactly. And it's
So-
from your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like when I teach a dance, I teach it in, so if where you go to a dance school and they'd say your posture must be this way and da-da-da-da, I'll tell them to go look for a sugar daddy. So they'll go look for a sugar daddy and they've got all that sass, and you just use it distractive ways. And then
Is that a practice then? Distractive practice? Like,
definitely.
is
I
it?
think
Because
so.
I thought we'd invented something like that.
Oh no, we have.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
We can
going
write
to
a
release
book on
this. Yeah. Distraction is everything.
Yeah.
But so that's what it is, and the classes are very out there. They're really out there. So, you know, it'll be RuPaul one week or Wicked next week, or last week was Moulin Rouge, and we've got 70-year-old women turning
done
up
a
in
Disney one?
fishnets. Yeah, we've done. Our Disney one is at the end of this month, but it's dark Disney.
Is it men and women?
Men and women, yeah.
I'm coming.
You got to come,
Honestly,
yeah, honestly. So much fun. So it's Terror in Wonderland. So we've got like live scare actors and everything. And obviously you're going to burn calories when you're running away from from a monster.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened, you know. We never stay the same. Everything's different all the time, because I want people to be excited. I don't ever want it to be a chore. You should never come to the same class twice with me, ever. Well, you can't, because I can't remember what I did last week. I can't remember anything. So it's never the same routine. Everything's very on the spot. And that works for them because they don't have to come from their important job to an important class. It's just a free-for-all.
Paint me more of a picture of this night. Is it laughter and energy and
Singing,
just things spilling over?
So you're shouting pretty much as soon as you get in, because like we do like squats, and we call it the roar. So the Warriors roar is like rah! So if you're new, you've just walked into Warriors, everyone's screaming. You're like, what is going on here? But I can tell you, honestly, the first time every single Warrior did their first roar, I don't miss it. I look, and that moment, that's when you know that they're there to stay. And you see the little person inside. And it's just, I live for that. I literally live for it, because some of those people who come have come from a place where they have been oppressed and they haven't used their voice. So our motivation is never run faster, it's always shout louder.
You've built something that just can't be replicated, because it is so you. Everything in this, your whole story is built to this moment.
Thank you.
It just feels so a print on it that is Dominique. It is. Everything you're explaining here, and I know the story, it feels so right what you're explaining to me.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I appreciate that so much.
It's awesome. So how many have you got in these classes?
So each one's different, but you're looking usually around 55. Yeah. I think the biggest one we've ever had was 120. And I remember looking out thinking, that can't happen again.
Mate, yeah.
That cannot.
Like what we were talking before we did the podcast,
Yeah.
but me sort of really learning business and then starting to go, I know I hated school, but the little bit of system here makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then you start pick and mixing, don't you, to try and refine it and build it to what your stamp is.
Yes.
But procedure around it.
And I think that's why it's so important to have a team, honestly.
Yeah.
Because one, it helps with ego, right? And I always think that when you're doing a really creative job and you're a really creative person, you get flooded with all this praise, and it's not always helpful. Like, I did have that moment of like diva fever, but my team they remind me that I can't do all of that on my own. There's too many people. There is too many people. The lights, the setup. It's like watching the circus go up and down, the way they take it up and down. I can't do what they do. They're so organised.
Wow.
I'm not organised. I'm just in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's where your team's so important, because I bet you're like me in the fact that you find it hard to say no.
Hey, I'm dealing with it at the minute.
Yeah.
In different threads.
Yeah. Totally get it.
But it's really good. It's really healthy. Like, I know myself now. I trust myself, and I can have them uncomfortable conversations. But maybe because I've seen a leader in an authoritative position manifest itself too sharp all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm just so uncomfortable in that. I don't want to do that.
No.
But I can see the benefit of having that in context where the element's right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally know what you mean.
I'm learning from that and implementing it a bit more now. Because, my other side character would be like a people pleaser. I just want everyone to feel happy, everyone to be good. We're on it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it wasn't on it, just bury my head.
Totally.
Yeah, get there.
And take it so personally. I get that pain when the class is not full.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll look at the booking status, what I call the booking status, and that's when these numbers just dominate my life. Even now, and I take it so personally, and I think,
Dominique,
what have I done? Yeah, exactly.
Awful pun.
Yeah.
Awful. Sorry.
That's funny. But I do, and it goes back to that. I know where it's from. I know it's because I didn't get to go and play with my friends, and I still want everyone to come and play every night, and I didn't have birthday parties, and then I'm like, take it really personally, even though it's a business. So that's my biggest thing, is working through, do you know what? Maybe they've got real things on this week that they can't get.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it's that just constantly doing what you do as best as you can do it.
Yeah.
And the good stuff comes, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So as soon as you do it in any walk of life, if you're just focusing on the numbers, or you're just focusing on a very small part of it, and you forget, like we said, the magic.
Exactly.
The numbers will end up becoming that, because you focus your energy down there.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I've definitely learnt that over the years, that if there's 50 people or there's 10 people, it's about the people who did turn up.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really important.
As a performer, like, sort of, I do the spoken word and more musical style stuff, and that was much more my story maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I still do talks and go to schools, but I don't go for stages anymore.
Yeah.
But I had to have that moment. So for 5 years, I was performing every night, Bristol, Brighton, London.
Yeah.
And it was the rooms that were with 10 people in that I actually got a Glastonbury slot from.
Wow.
Or I got like a download slot or something like that.
Yeah.
That is just a music lover was in there, or a teacher was in there.
Yeah.
And they were like, you have to come here.
Yeah.
I want you to teach these lads, or I want you to do this thing.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
it was, but that was that attitude there of just do your best. Like, perform like you're in front of 1,000
Exactly.
people every time.
Yeah. And you know, my mum used to say to me, because she was a amazing performer before the illness and things like that, she was on tour with UB40.
Wow.
And she always,
What band?
I know. And she always used to say to me, when you're on stage, this was before I was ever on stage, so she used to train me as if I was on stage when I wasn't. She'd say, when you're on stage, there's always one person in the crowd who's completely into it.
Love that.
Sing to them, or talk to them, or dance for them.
That's good.
And I still think about that all the time,
Yeah.
because like you said about that room with 10 people. So I was scouted to be a national presenter for a program I wasn't even interested in. So I wrote this program, which was like toning on a mat.
Yeah.
Just to fill a space on the timetable, and that was the one that got me the break.
Really?
After spending so much time building these other programs, yeah.
It is always that
Yeah.
the case, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's crazy.
Really good story.
Thank
mate.
you.
Because I've got to go and film another guy's podcast today.
Yeah.
I
Amazing.
should have booked in a lot more time, shouldn't I, realistically? Because there was moments where I thought, me.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
so much to go down.
Yeah.
I love the trajectory we took, because I felt we went enough into the timeline.
Yeah.
But there's probably segments where we could turn into podcasts
Totally.
themselves.
Yeah.
So if you'd be up for coming back,
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'd
I'd
love to go and investigate more into your life.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
But yeah, just for the listeners and stuff, where are you heading with the Warriors? Is it where it's at now? Is optimal and you just live in it, or have you got vision?
So it's great as it is right now. Like I love how it is right now, because we've got instructors all over the UK doing their own thing, and then we've got the headquarters in Alfreton at the Genesis Centre. But my vision is ridiculous, but I love ridiculous things.
Please.
I literally want a circus tent. So
Yeah.
I really, really want Warriors to end up in a real circus tent, where people can come and learn circus skills, or have a wedding or glamp or stay over and take it out into the wild where it belongs, because it just can't be kept inside. So that's something that I'm looking at. And obviously I love skating, because we have roller skating as well. So for my vision, I want like a big Dodgems like movable rink that we can move around, and
Big field out there.
I know, that's what I was thinking. But yeah, I want to take it out. I want to take it out there, and I want it to be more accessible, because even though we have got funding and things like that, when we go out and do our demos, so we go out with like 40 women screaming on fields, and that is where the lives are saved, because that's where that person who is in isolation sees those voices or hears those voices and thinks, I need to be in that room. I need to be in that place. So for me, it's always a vision of not how much bigger can it get, but how much more can we get out there and find those people who need us.
We've found what we do really well, but we need to spread that now.
Totally.
And manoeuvre with that.
Yeah.
But at least we've got the thing.
Yeah.
Ooh. Mate, when you were talking there, I was like, there's some cool stuff we could do together.
I know.
There's a lot of amalgamation here that we can do.
It's amazing how it happened, how
Yeah.
like our worlds just went.
Oh, actually,
wow.
I'm
bet that's
keeping
gonna
that
be
in.
loud.
That's amazing. I really hope you haven't crashed your car, just. Because if people are as captivated in this conversation as I am, and then I just did that, I feel like I've just tricked everyone there.
You imagine them meditating, like just listening to it.
Honestly. Yeah, but that's it. Always be aware, guys. Remember that.
Yeah.
Got to be tuned in if you drifted off. But yeah, I think that it's called a centrifugal. I found that
Never
recently.
heard that word
It's a
before.
good word.
Centrifugal.
I think it's where, like the universal thing, but like where it gets like into this point of nothing else can exist, and then it just opens up to something else, something other.
I need to go and Google and read all about
It was
that.
a guy that we aren't friends at all anymore,
Right.
but I've took that one thing away from him. So,
Oh,
yeah.
do you know what? Do you know something? That's so important.
And that's like that friendship in essence.
Yeah, it is. And you meet everyone for a reason.
There you go.
Yeah, I
Mate,
love that.
This has been stunning, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It has.
Please tell everybody where they can get in touch with you. They can listen to your everything. You're skilled at this. You've had your radio days and that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Well, you can find us on Facebook on Community Warriors, or hopefully, we'll be able to link you into ours as well and get our our people
bless.
to find you guys as well. So Dominique Parlatt on Facebook. Just, we don't do big websites or anything like that. It's all really organic. So yeah, just find us on Facebook. Come and have a chat.
So it's to find it's Community Warriors.
Yeah, so Community Warriors or Dominique Parlatt.
Done, and go straight to you.
Go
Go
straight.
to the source.
You might not get a reply straight away, but you will get a reply eventually.
Yeah, honestly, I'd love to get you back and do more, because the social media thing there, like having to be on demand and people expecting this thing of you all the time.
I know, that's the big thing.
Tiring, isn't it?
It
But
is.
I reckon we're on similar paths.
Yes.
And we could have some cool podcasts about how you manage that.
That would be amazing.
Business management and all that kind of thing
Yeah.
would be a good next one for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Thank you so much.
No,
I'll do
thanks
my
for having
bit.
me in. Thank you so much.
Guys, you've been a part of the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. I've really bloody enjoyed that, and I'm going to leave you on this. Just be nice to one another, you beautiful set of buggers. That is literally all you've got to do. Just be nice. See you later. Cheers.